What's up, Motorheads, and welcome back to Gearbox Pizza. Today we're going to take a look at this giant all-electric toaster of an EV kind of thing, and I'm talking about this crazy little startup coming out of LA called Canoo. So where did this company come from exactly? Well, remember that troubled startup Faraday Future? So a bunch of executives and engineers, they got together and they quit Faraday Future with aspirations of doing this whole electric car thing just a little bit differently. So there's going to basically be three versions of this thing. There's the van, or lifestyle vehicle as they're calling it, which I'm guessing you've already seen around the internet here and there. But there's also an all business purpose built delivery van, and then there's this crazy pickup. All right, let's take a look at the van again, or lifestyle vehicle. Right off the bat, according to the website, this guy's gonna start at a surprisingly affordable 35 grand. And look, if that's true, I mean, that's pretty amazing. And they're gonna sell as many of these things as they can make. So I don't know, maybe I'm just a little bit skeptical, and we'll get like real specific about pricing towards the end of the video, but look, I am totally pulling for them. So this electric jelly bean is gonna launch with 4 optional specs, but before that, it looks like all versions are gonna share the same basic skateboard style underpinning with the same 80 kilowatt hour battery and a claimed range of like 200 to 250 miles. DC fast charging also looks to be standard across the lineup, with Canoo claiming an 80% charge in 28 short minutes. So below the base spec, it looks like they're gonna offer this like no nonsense work version of this thing with just 2 seats, and they're calling it the quote unquote delivery. This is gonna be a pretty solid option for like your mom and pop shops that need just like a simple delivery van sort of thing, and I think this is also gonna be a really interesting option for all you future like van life kids out there, right? Look, it'll be the cheapest version for sure, and it's gonna come pretty much empty, so you crazy kids can do whatever you want in the back. I'm telling you, prepare to have your Instagram feed inundated with insanely staged and completely false representations of what it's like to be a couple of good-looking like 20-somethings out on the open road. Next up is the base trim level they're calling, yep, you guessed it, base. And look, there's just not a ton of info out there about this trim level, but we do know it's going to be unique, as it appears to be the only version that offers seating for 5. This will probably end up having like, I don't know, just like a more traditional style bench seat behind the front passengers, but look, we're sort of guessing at this one. So power wise, on the website they're saying that this trim will come with up to 350 horsepower. Car and Driver has reported that the base motors will produce 300 horsepower, so like they're still fine tuning all this stuff. There also looks like there's going to be an optional motor upgrade. And we'll get into that soon, but I don't believe that's going to be available on this base version, and look, that's totally fine. So following the base version is the premium version. And now this is where we get to have a little bit of fun. First thing, just check out this rear seating situation. I mean, yeah, I definitely have not seen anything quite like this before. And oddly enough, you know what my first thought was? I was like, is this thing legal? And if you look, you can count 5 seatbelts back there, so I mean, I guess it must be legal. I mean, otherwise, somebody didn't do some like very easy homework over there at Canoo. With the premium trim, you also get that giant panoramic glass roof. Sort of love that everybody's making these big glass roofs now. I mean, this is definitely a trend that I can just totally get behind. We're not done though. You also get this crazy window below the windshield. Canoo calls this the street view window, and I gotta say that this is pretty cool. There's also a few other things offered here, like an upgraded 17 speaker audio system, ambient lighting, and I don't know, this like air purifying wellness package. I'm also betting we're gonna have an optional motor upgrade here. Car and Driver just recently reported that there's going to be an optional motor that's gonna make, get this, 600 horsepower and 550 pound-feet of torque. This will likely be the result of a second motor, you know, like one on each axle kind of thing, with the stock single motor, you know, just powering the rear axle. Lastly, there's this adventure trim, which seems to be really similar to all those quote-unquote first models that these car companies seem to just be like totally in love with lately. Now this baby comes with this exclusive dark green color that's, I don't know, it's just sort of, I don't know, meh. I mean, I almost didn't even notice it. If you're gonna make an exclusive color, I don't know, just maybe make something that stands out just a little bit. You do get this roof rack with an integrated light bar though, and like that's pretty cool. Look, if you got a beard and you love yourself some flannel, I can see you really digging this adventure trim. Oh yeah, it also has this tow hitch and you can tow 2,000 pounds, so that's also cool. Okay, look, we'll get to the truck in a second, but first, I just have to quickly show you this, I don't know, this Lego-inspired commercial canoe. I mean, if you squint your eyes a little bit, does this thing sort of look like the Cybertruck's like chubby little brother with those hard angles and that can-do, go-get-'em attitude? I don't know. I mean, it is pretty cool looking though, right? Now, personally, I wouldn't say I've got any use for this, but depending on the price, this could be a better bet for those van life kids out there. I mean, it's bigger, that's for sure. Look, we're just gonna have to wait for the pricing info to see if this thing's a legitimate option. All right, last but not least at all is this snub nose of a pickup. So right off the bat, this is gonna come a little bit later. While the van, or what they're calling this lifestyle vehicle, well, that's scheduled to go on sale in late 2022. The truck will not be available until early 2023 at the absolute earliest. And I know. Look, don't get your hopes up. These things have been delayed before and they're probably gonna be delayed again. And look, what can I say? It's just, it's very hard to do what these guys are trying to do. So, I mean, be patient, or at least try to be a little patient. I mean, I do have to give them a little bit of credit here. I mean, at least they managed to create a completely different kind of pickup truck. So that part's pretty awesome. So they're saying that this thing's gonna have 500 plus horsepower and like a 200 plus mile range, which is making sense if we break it down a little bit. Look, the electric motor they're working on looks like it's going to produce between 250 and 350 horsepower. So with the double motor option, we're looking at probably 500 to possibly 700 horsepower. It also looks like you're going to get a bit more range with a single motor rear-wheel drive version. I mean, probably 250 miles or so, and then probably 200 miles with the double motor version. And this all pretty much lines up. All right, we've got some pretty interesting things going on here, right? So I think their success is sort of going to hinge on the price, and all we know right now is that the starting point's just going to be like just a touch under 35 grand. And that's going to be for that bare bones delivery trim version with a single motor and like not a whole lot else. So stepping up to that base trim should add at least 5 grand, and I'm thinking a $7,500 premium feels about right when you factor in all the missing interior, the glass, and all that other stuff. So it's going to bring our starting price up to about 43 grand or so. All right, moving up to that premium version, with that fancy interior and all those bells and whistles. Look, we're thinking this should add about 7 to 10 grand to the starting price, and that gets us into like the low 50s. And it's also at this point where we think the second motor option should become available. And it's unclear if you're gonna have a choice here, but I bet we will. So for all that extra horsepower and all-wheel drive, be prepared to add another 7 to 10 grand, putting us, into the low 60s. Finally, the adventure trim with the dual motors, all-wheel drive, I guess that's gonna come in around 70 grand or so. Now, look, if these numbers prove to be somewhat accurate, I do think they'll have a hit on their hands. And if they can manage to beat these numbers, hopefully by a pretty solid margin, well, now we're talking.